Welcome to the Automotive Diagnostic Podcast. We're going to explore ways to sharpen our diagnostic skills, find learning resources, and hear from experts in the automotive field. This episode is brought to you by L1 Automotive Training and Keith Perkins. If you're looking for education on module programming, J2534, EEPROM work, key and immobilizer, electrical diagnostics, or drivability diagnostics, Keith has a website, l1training.com, that's got over 60 hours of training videos on all those subjects and more. When I first started out doing mobile, I utilized Keith's videos on module programming in J2534 in order to get my head wrapped around what I would need for the tooling, the computers, the software setups, what kind of obstacles I would be up against when I'm out there programming modules on cars. And it was a huge benefit to me. And I continue to use the training videos that he has on his website. So I strongly recommend checking out l1training.com. The link is in the show notes. Hey, what's going on, automotive world? Welcome to another episode of the Automotive Diagnostic Podcast. My name is Sean Tipping. I'll be your host once again for this week's episode. Thank you so much for joining me. On the show this week, I'm going to share with you some helpful applications that I've been using lately in order to fix cars. Now, I should put it out there that, if you listen to the show, you probably know, but I do mobile work, which means, yes, we have a shop. Sometimes I'm doing stuff there, and some of this stuff will definitely be helpful there. Some of this does lean more towards the mobile side of things when you're out in the field and you need to pull something up on your phone. So I'll talk specifically about applications that would be helpful on a phone or tablet. But again, some of this transfers outside of that. And it's just in general, fixing, diagnosing, programming cars, some things that are going to be helpful. Now, this isn't an all-encompassing list. Of course, there's just a ton of resources that we have available to us in the automotive field or just technology in general, because honestly, that's what cars are now, is we're repairing technology. So there's a ton of resources, a ton of applications, a ton of things that are going to be helpful that are maybe just staples of our day to day. And I'm not mentioning those here. I'll talk about a couple of them, but I'm talking about some stuff that I've been using more recently that has become really helpful in our day to day. And we're just looking to always get that little bit of an edge on what we're doing, right? Can we increase the efficiency or reduce the friction of what we're doing? Can we get to the information sooner? Can we assist the customer better? Can we communicate better? Any of that stuff. These are the applications that are going to help us with those sort of things. So I'll lay out a few of them here. We'll get more into detail on some of them. And of course, I can't go like 3 podcasts without talking about some AI stuff because those individually have probably been the most helpful applications. But we'll get into that. So first off, just a few things that I'm not actually sure how long this one has been around, but they just sent out an email. So, right, their marketing is doing a good job because I've used Identifix for a very long time, and I'm sure many of you have here as well. I think I was first introduced to Identifix, what year would that have been? That was probably somewhere 2010, I'm guessing, 2009, somewhere in there. The shop I was at first got a subscription, and it was a great thing. And yes, there's a lot that goes into Identifix of, is it a crutch for actual diagnostics because you're just going off of, hey, it fixed this problem this many times, I'm going to chuck that part at it. Now, of course, there's a lot of useful information within the archives that they have there, and you can use it as service information too. But if nothing else, a lot of times it is just helpful to say like, hey, this ESIM on these cars fails a lot. It's not that I'm just going to truck an ESIM at an EVAP problem on a Chrysler, but hey, if there's a ton of them, maybe I should go check that part first, right? Or I should investigate to see, has that part been changed? And it will help speed up your diagnostics. Anyways, this isn't a pitch for Identifix. It's just, that's what it is. And I use it. And after 2018, their information is 100% lacking. So I don't know if you work at Solera and you're listening to this, that's the company that owns Identifix now. It fell off a cliff in 2018. Yeah, do they have some stuff on newer cars? Yes, but like if I want actual service information on cars, I'm going to ALLDATA or Factory after 2018 for the most part. It's very weak and some stuff changed there. So old school Identifix was definitely a leg up on what we currently have, but I still pay for it. I still use it. And anyways, the whole point of this is they have a web app that goes on your phone. I should say a mobile app that goes on your phone. And it's actually pretty good. I like it for in-field stuff if I'm going to be pulling it up on my phone for like component locations or even diagrams. It's mobile friendly. It's not ideal to be looking at a wiring diagram on your phone, obviously, but maybe on your tablet. And it's pretty useful for the mobile side of things. So if you use Identifix, you already have a subscription. I say check it out and see if it's helpful just to be able to quick pull it up on your phone, right? You're laying underneath the dash. You don't want to get up. Hey, I got my phone here. Let me just pull this up quick and see if I can find where this connector is located. So that's one thing that I've been using is the mobile Identifix app. It's helpful. Nastiff just came out with an app as well. Or again, maybe they had one, but they just launched this app so that you can get the code that you need, the rolling code for Nastiff transactions, right? So that's National Automotive Security Task Force. They deal with all of the anti-theft stuff between the OEs and the aftermarket, right? So if I want to do a immobilizer repair on a Ford or GM or Chrysler, whatever make and model, there are some that don't play nice. You would use your VSP credentials, Vehicle Security Professional, which you sign up for through Nastiff. You're going to go into whatever application is doing the programming that requires that access, right? It'll ask you for your identification. It'll ask you for a code. Now, traditionally, we got this code from an app called Authy, which was a 20-second rolling code that it would spit out a new code every 20 seconds. You type it in, and that's your code. This app generates a code for you. Once you sign up for it, you can't go back to the old way. So just be aware of that. But it's 5 minutes on this code instead of 20 seconds. So you don't have to scramble to type it in really fast. But that's kind of helpful. And this app, it looks like it was vibe coded, meaning like done by me with AI. But it seems to work. Well, actually, I should say it broke down in like the first day, but they got it fixed right away too. Other than that, it seems to work nice. And so if you are a VSP, you have a Nastiff account, you use this, you probably already know about it. Maybe you don't use it that often. Check it out. It's an application you can put on your phone or your tablet. Another application that works through your phone or tablet. Now you will need some hardware for this, but it is surprisingly cheap, is the TopScan Pro through TopDon. Now, yes, I do sell TopDon tools. That's not why I'm talking about this. Honestly, this is almost like a dirty little secret on this tool because we bought a few of these just to do code scans. And it's like just a little dongle. It's a VCI, plugs into the car, and it runs off of a mobile app on your phone. And yes, you can do full scans of the vehicle, and it's fast and it's easy. It's also easy to forget dongle is plugged into the car, so be aware of that. But it runs off of an app on your phone or tablet, whichever way you want to do. It doesn't have a traditional scan tool interface. I am happy to have Automotive Seminars as a sponsor for the show. Now, if you're not familiar, Automotive Seminars is a diagnostic technician training company. They've got a website that there'll be a link to in the show notes. And what they offer is top-notch training to technicians like us in the field. I've been taking their training courses for years and have got a ton of benefit out of it. They got top-notch instructors, John Thornton, Scott Shotton, Scott Manna, and every other month they've got a 2-night course that you can sign up for. Join in, ask questions, and afterwards, you've paid for the course, you can access a recorded version whenever you want. You can rewatch the class 2 years later in case you wanted some details on it. And that is a fantastic feature. So make sure to check out the website to see what courses they have available and what's coming up in the future. Have a tablet it comes with. It's just the dongle. You connect to it with Bluetooth and you do stuff there. Now, the scanning part of it is nice. The reports are nice. It covers pretty much all the modules that a regular Topdon would. There's some special functions that are missing, but there actually is a surprising amount of stuff you can do. And here's the secret part. And I mean, it's not really a secret. You can look online and find this out. But if you get the Pro or the Master version, there's several different versions of this. But if you get the Pro and up of the top scan from Topdon, and you have a active subscription on, it comes with one, and then you have to re-up it every year. It has an immobilizer side to it. Now, let me tell you what, this immobilizer side is absolutely incredibly surprising on what it can do. And in the last year or two, there's been some features that have been taken away from Autel for various reasons with Ford and All Keys Lost. And this tool has been able to cover the gaps in a lot of those cases. But it is rangely capable. And so I don't even know how long it will last that they're able to do this on like $100 tool. Maybe it's a little bit more, 150, something like that. But an extremely cheap tool that's able to do a surprising amount of immobilizer stuff. As far as keys go, you get into the actual modular replacements and it might be a little bit weaker there, but specifically for keys on stuff, I've been absolutely blown away. And so we had some of these things for the guys with ST Mobile, and I just got them again for like a scan tool thing. And my admin was actually the one who used it, because every once in a while he'll help us out. He'll go out and take care of a car for us, or something will come to the shop, and he's, technically savvy, so he's able to get through some of the scan tool stuff. And he started telling me about this, and we call them affectionately the Baby Don, right? It's Topdon Baby Don because it's just little. And he was like, the Baby Don takes care of all of these keys. I don't need to grab the Autel. I'm like, whatever, BS. And over time, this has been about a year or so, it's been going on, maybe more. It's been really surprising on what it will take care of. It's not everything. There's holes just like every tool. But check one of those out. And again, this is not a sales pitch. Like, you can go buy these on Amazon if you want to. I can get one for you. I don't make much money off of these things because, again, they're like $100, $150. If you need one, let me know. I'll get one shipped to you. But, yeah, check it out. Like, for the price, it's a crazily capable tool just to have as addition to whatever else you're using for immobilizers and keys. So check it out. I don't know. I feel like somebody included something in that software that they weren't supposed to, and maybe I'm letting them know, and maybe they'll get shut down. I have no idea. Okay, on to the next one. WhisperFlow. If you haven't checked out WhisperFlow, what this is a AI dictation software. Now, you can use this as an application on your phone. It is admittedly a little clunky if you have an Apple, because you have to like authorize it every single time that you pull it up on a keyboard. But you can use it on your laptop, any device where normally you would type. This is now you just talk. And there are other dictation softwares out there, right? If you have a Windows laptop, you just do Windows H and it's a dictation software and it works pretty good. But WhisperFlow is amazing. And it's actually right on par with ChatGPT's dictation software, which is the best in my opinion of all the AIs, where you talk into it and it picks up just about everything that you say. You could literally whisper and it's going to be able to get it. It's going to be able to get it over the background noise. And if you're speech is full of ums and likes and buts, which mine is, it will be able to take those out and output something that is very usable to send in an email, in a text, wherever you need it. This is a crazy good software. I really like it. So check out WhisperFlow. It's the absolute best. I use it on all my devices. There's a free version and a paid version, of course. A lot of this stuff costs money. People want to make money. That's why this is out there. But I highly recommend WhisperFlow as far as dictation software to take your text from what you're saying, or I'm sorry, your speech of what you're saying, and get it into text in a very usable version. And you can kind of create the style that you want. Do you want it in a casual? Do you want it in a professional? And it's going to just slightly modify the delivery to match however you want it. But the way it picks it up and the way it just flows is crazy good. So check that one out. Next up is Q. This is formerly OpenPhone, and this is basically just internet phone. And so you sign up for it, you can get a number. You can also port in your existing phone number, and that will kill that service. Like if you have AT&T servicing a number, you move it over to OpenPhone, you don't pay AT&T anymore. But you can also just set it up and they'll give you a number, or you can pick from a list of numbers. And this acts as a phone. You can call people, in our case, our customers, and it is going to give you basically a platform that you can operate through your phone or a desktop, either one, and you can make calls through a desktop. You can make calls through your phone. It will ring on your phone like a regular phone call would. And it is going to allow you to do a few different things. So number one, you can record the conversations that you're having. And for us, doing what we do and the volume that we're doing, it's incredibly helpful to be able to record what was said by who and when. There's a lot of he said, she said with what we do. And most of the time that's not a huge problem, right? If something was missed, something wasn't clarified, there was a miscommunication, we deal with it when it comes up. And that's what we've been doing up until about 2-3 months ago when we integrated this. But there are situations where it would be really nice to be able to prove to the customer, like, no, you told us that you had this vehicle and that it was a new module, not that it was a completely different vehicle with a used module, or you said it'd be ready at this time, whatever. You only deal, at least we only deal with those really difficult customers every once in a while. But when we do, it's nice to be able to have the evidence that, hey, this is exactly what you said. Or, sometimes it's us that screwed up and we need the information to say, oh yeah, we made a bad call there. Or we did not say the right thing. We didn't ask the right thing. We told them the incorrect information. So that's helpful too, so we can improve. But this software not only does the recording, but it gives you a transcript, it gives you an AI summary as well. So you have a summary of the conversation and you can take that and you can do some other things with that. And I'll talk about that a little bit later. But this gives us a really easy way to keep track of the conversations that we've had in the past, right? And that's the other thing. Myself or Mike, if we are out in the field, we're working on something, we're busy, we have a phone call with somebody, okay, it was a 2014 BMW 328 and they want to replace this module and it's a remanufactured from here, but there's this other thing that we got to consider. Okay, I'll get you on the schedule for 3:00 on Thursday. Okay, pull up to the back of the shop and go to the third bay. Jimmy will meet you there with the keys. That's the sort of stuff that we have the conversation with. And of course, that's our job to document and record it. But now we have something we can go back to and say, okay, it was 2014. We got to go to the back of the shop. Or our advisor can just take that summary and put it into the calendar event or send it to the technician and say, this is exactly what I said with the customer when I talk to them. So you have the information verbatim. You can, utilize that when you get to the stop, because there is a little bit of a disconnect between my admin and our technician and the customer. because he's the middleman and he does a very good job of it. But this gives us the ability to just, hey, this is right from the horse's mouth. You have the information, it's transferred to you, or for Mike or myself to go back and look, what was the year on that car? Or what did they do, a BCM or a PCM? I can't remember what they said. You can either re-listen to the conversation or look at the transcript or the summary. Really helpful and a game changer. If you're running a business, I'd recommend getting something like this. You could do some other cool stuff with it. Honestly, we've only scratched the surface. There's a AI that's built into it that'll actually conversate with the customers. We haven't gone that route yet because, for my personal opinion, what I have found, the majority of the people in the automotive industry, at least a lot of them that we service, want nothing to do with AI, and it actually pushes them away, honestly, if they feel like they're talking to an AI. So we haven't integrated it yet, but there's a mode that you can use within there, and train it on your information to give the customers info. So anyways, it's QUO, or it's formerly OpenPhone, but if you Google that, you'll find it. Definitely worth the money, in my opinion. All right, one other thing on using a phone for this stuff. A lot of this stuff has been mobile apps that I want to mention because I didn't know this was a thing. Maybe you did, and you're like, Sean, this has been a thing since like day one, but I didn't know you could do this. You can make an app on your phone basically with any website that you go to, right? So you go to your browser on your phone, and I am using an Apple, but I'm pretty sure you can do this on Androids as well. You go to a website. Let's say I'm going to Identifix, or I'm going to ALLDATA, I'm going to whatever. And I find that this particular website does not have a mobile app. And a lot of big companies do. I just mentioned Identifix has one. But let's say you find one that doesn't have a mobile app, but you'd like it to be an app so you can just click it on your home screen. You can do share to your home screen and create an app for just about anything that you want that is a website. So that way it's on your home screen. You click, it brings it up as if it were a mobile app on your phone. And it works really slick. And I'll share you where we're using that exactly. But check that out if you just want kind of a shortcut on your home screen to a web page that you visit all of the time. And you can log in with your normal login, use it like you normally would, but again, it's in like a mobile format that's built for your phone. Now, of course, the website does need to have a mobile format, but most places are going to have that version of it if you're looking at it on your phone. So again, just go to the webpage within your normal browser on your phone, whether that be Safari or Google or whatever, and then share to homepage. And yeah, I didn't know that was a thing. You learn something every day. So really cool. Now, where did I discover this? I have been building a ton of custom software and applications for ST Mobile. And like I said, of course, I'm going this way to AI, but yes, I'm using Claude and I'm using ChatGPT, which are applications on my phone. They're also on a computer at home. And I utilize those a ton in order to build and utilize a lot of the custom applications that we have, because we're in a time now that if a thing doesn't exist to do something that you want, and it's in the digital realm, right, on computers, on phones, with technology, you very well might be able to build it yourself using one of these AI tools. Again, I've mentioned before, if you have a defined goal and outcome of a tool, I wanted to do this with this information. Okay, and again, that lives in the digital world somehow or another. And you can be persistent and ask questions. You can probably get it figured out. It might be much more complex than you think it is, but if you're persistent with it, you can probably build it, right? So if you see, maybe there is something out there, but it's $200 a month in order to use that software. And you're just like, it's just not worth it for me to pay that much money. Or maybe it is, but you could build your own and just not pay that money every month. They talk about the SaaS apocalypse out there, which is software as a service. They're losing tons and tons of money, and it depends on where exactly you look. But a lot of companies that would build software for people, well, a lot of people don't necessarily need that because Claude or ChatGPT will do it for themselves. And we've built a ton of really cool applications that can do very custom things for us. Some of it is stuff that, I wish there was an application out there for it prior. Some of it is, there is one, but now I've built it for myself in exactly the way that I want it. That's the other thing, is you can make it as customized to your needs as possible. And that gives it some definite utility too, because it's either going to be very expensive or non-existent for a big software company to make a very niche specific software just customized for your needs. Again, not saying it doesn't exist, but you're probably going to have to pay the boutique price on something like that for someone to build that for you. Not necessarily anymore. Okay. So again, I'm using Claude, ChatGPT, some open source tools called OpenClaw, Hermes, which are just harnesses for agents. And those are actually running Claude and ChatGPT on the back end as the engine. But I won't go into that. I use AI systems quite a bit in the applications. I have my phone, our Claude, ChatGPT, and then I use Telegram in order to communicate with some models that I have run locally on desktops. But that's getting off in the weeds. I'm building some really cool stuff with that. I've talked about before, we have tools now that will look up the Nissan files, not only how to get the name for the file so that you can search it easily within a drive. And if you're not familiar with Nissan file setup, that might sound confusing, but basically the actual file name that you download from Nissan is quite often different than the name of the file on the website when you look it up, or the calibration when you look it up on the Nissan website, right? It goes from 10 digits down to 7, and it's 2 of those digits are going to be different than what the originals were. What happens there is if you have a storage of a bunch of Nissan files, which can be reusable, you need to be able to search those efficiently. And there is a way to do it. And I figured that out the old school way to search those. But I built a system now that automatically does that for us. So basically, we can put in the number that Nissan gives us. It is able to get us that file name and do the search for us on all of our laptops and our Google Drive and give the technician the output. Okay, we need this particular file for this CVT update for this Nissan. Oh, Steve's got it on his laptop, or it's in the Google Drive, or you have it on your laptop. And so that way, not only do we know that we don't have to buy the file, because we've done that so many times where we bought a $55 file or whatever the cost was for Nissan at the time. And then we go to put it into either the reprogramming folder or our Google Drive. And it's like, you already own that file. And so we wasted $55. And we did that multiple times, and that money adds up at the end of the month and the year. And of course, we don't want to do that. So this tool allows us to very quickly recognize whether we have that file or not. That was worth the time to build. I have a tool that allows us to find out, number one, if there's an update for a Chrysler vehicle for powertrain module, but also allows us to look up the correct calibration for a particular vehicle based off of some VIN attributes. Now, that's a tricky one to do, and there's still a little bit of room for error on that one, but I've gotten it pretty dialed in so that we can get real close on what calibration is correct for a particular car. Because we'll get a used module, original's gone, and sometimes, like if it's a Jeep Cherokee, you might have 10 different calibrations to pick from on the Stellantis website, right? That's the Chrysler website. You go there, you put in the VIN. It's like, okay, TCM, there's 10 calibrations, figure it out. And there's little descriptors in there that kind of make sense sometimes, don't always. And you have to use VIN attributes from RepairLink to sort through. Well, this tool will help you with that and get you down to maybe 2 or 3 of them, if not the exact right one, just by plugging in some information. So, like, again, that's a real custom need that maybe some people listening to this don't even need that because they don't program Chryslers or they only do new modules. So what do we need to look that up? For us, that's really helpful. For us, that was a big obstacle. That was something I was helping my guys with all the time. Or even when it was just me, I was taking time to figure this out. This one dials it in for us quicker, right? So again, application that I built using AI tools like Claude and ChatGPT. I've also used, and I was building with Claude on these ones, but I've used the Google Apps script. And if you have your information and your operations within a Google Business Suite, they call it a G Suite, right? So you purchase this through Google and it's all the stuff, the Drive, the email, the sheets, the docs, all that stuff. And you get a little extra with the workspace, and you can have employees and your own email address and all of that stuff. And we have one of those, right? Google's great for the Drive functionality of it and sharing things, and searchability of your information within the Google Drive. That's where we store the basis of all of our information, is on Google. But within Google, there's something called Google Apps Script. And I'd never heard of this prior to about 6 months ago. But you can basically write your own code that will operate within your Google ecosystem that can automate a ridiculous amount of functions. The first time that I used this was helping me to develop an onboarding system for our company. And what it allowed us to do is take the information from a particular folder and the documents within the folder and generate a quiz based off of that information, right? So that I have, this is how we handle this particular procedure for ST Mobile, right? This is our on-site procedure for when we arrive to a shop. This is my expectations as Sean. I make a video of that, and I have a written procedure that's in our documents. And I would have a new person who comes on board read that. And okay, I wanted them to take a quiz to see, did they watch it? Do they understand? Can I get this correct? Well, I've written plenty of quizzes in my day. I have, being a teacher at Century. It's tedious, especially for all of the different procedures that we have. But this could take that information, generate a quiz for me. I can summarize it to make sure that the questions are accurate, but basically spits it out in the format, in the folder that I want. And then the employee being onboarded can just take this quiz. And that was like my first introduction to this. I was like, oh, that's really cool. Because it's all contained within Google. It's nothing external. And it can have access directly to the folder that you want it to, or the document that you want it to. Since then, we built some other stuff where we can take emails that come to us as our service requests, right? We have a website. If somebody wants to book a service, they go on, say, hey, I need this module programmed, or I need this problem diagnosed. Here's the shop, here's the VIN number. Our request form asks for all that, and it goes to our Gmail. Now, before we were manually taking that and then putting it into a calendar. Well, now it sees those come in. It automatically sends a reply to the customer on Gmail, which uses some AI to see what they asked about and send a custom message back. So it's not just generic, right? And it'll flag, like if they said it's intermittent, they get an email back saying, hey, by the way, we don't do intermittence, but we'll call you and talk to you about this. So you can customize it in that way and use AI on the back end to filter and flag certain things that come in. But it takes that information now and it preps a calendar entry for us. And through the queue system that I mentioned, which you can hook up, it will alert one of us, myself or Mike, that, hey, there's an appointment on the calendar that came in from a request. It's ready to be entered into the calendar officially into the spot that you needed after you talked to the customer. And that's all automatic. Before, we were kind of watching the email, taking the information out, then generating a calendar event. Now that all happens automatically, and all we have to do is call the customer and confirm. And maybe we already did that and we told them to fill out a form, but that's all automatically done with this Google Apps script. And it takes some work to be able to set that up, some trial and error, some messing around, work the bugs out, but it's coding. And you might say, oh, I don't know how to code. You don't need to. I don't know how to code. I'm just telling Claude or ChatGPT, this is what I want. I'm going to be working in the Google workspace. Can you make this for me? And you don't have to do Google, but I'm just saying if you have your stuff in Google, it's a really straightforward, integrated way because it's within the Google ecosystem. So your Google Docs, Sheets, Gmail, Calendar, all that stuff can be linked directly in with this seamlessly. And so it works very well. All right, so 2 more on the AI side of custom tools that we built. I mentioned before, there's a lot of he said, she said stuff. We've done screenshots for our invoices when programming, and we've done pre-scans and post-scans on everything we've touched for a long time. And we quickly found out that was a really good idea, not only for us to look back and say, oh, okay, we did this on this car, or this car had this code, or what did we diagnose on this particular application before, all that stuff. But we get accused of stuff, especially for programming. That's the number one thing and most of our customers are good, but there's some that they are very quick to jump the gun and assume that we did something wrong. And I think it's maybe a couple different reasons. Number one, there's some mystery to programming as far as the customer goes. They don't know what's actually happening. And so if they have any sense that we don't know what we're doing, it's going to get blamed on us if there's any problem afterwards. And what gets me is, especially if it's the exact same thing that was happening in the car before we showed up, then they blame us for our programming. And that does frustrate me, right? And so we got to have the ammo to say, no, this was an issue beforehand. And of course, asking questions, getting information ahead of time, that's all important. But having screenshots of what happened or didn't happen is really important. And we were just doing Windows print screen before. So you hit that on your keyboard, it takes a screenshot. We'd attach however many screenshots to the invoices that we needed. Well, there's a better way to do this. And I built a custom screen recording software that captures a screenshot anytime you hit the control key. And you can make it whatever key you want, but I found control was one that didn't really affect the rest of the programming. And so you can go along a programming event or anything you want that's on a laptop, really. If you want to document how to do something, you can use it this way as well. And you hit control and it takes a screenshot once you've started the software. And then when you're done, you hit finalize on this software that we built with AI. And this is just all through. I actually used Codex for this one, which is ChatGPT. You can finalize it and it outputs it in one PDF with the shop name, the VIN number, the car, the module you're programming, the technician name, our little ST Mobile logo, and then a timestamp order of each of the screenshots. And you can edit it and take a screenshot out if you want to, or move them around, however you want to do it. But ideally, it is to prove this is exactly what happened as we program the car. So when we get accused of you guys didn't program it right, or you guys didn't program it at all, or the programming didn't stick, or whatever they're accusing us of, we can show them like, no, here's exactly what we did. You can see it along the way. And obviously a pre-scan, post-scan, sometimes that's built into that. Sometimes it's separate. That's important too. But you got to have that as ammunition. And we just had one on a Silverado where it was a braided ground strap that was corroded between the frame and the body of the vehicle. And this is how the frame gets the ground. And the power steering rack grounds on the frame. So does the fuel pump control module. But they called us in to program a power steering control module and stuff didn't work afterwards. Well, it didn't work before either. And they didn't need to replace that rack, but they called us accusing us of screwing it up. They were saying that this was not the problem before. You guys don't know what you're doing. It was very accusatory. So we went back and number one, we showed them this is what we did. This is the steps that we took. Here was the codes that you had before. Here's the codes after. And we also figured out the braided ground strap problem. But we needed the ammo to show them like, no, we actually did what we said we were going to do. And it did it correctly. Your problem is something else, and we can prove it. Obviously, we can do the tests on the car to prove that to them in that case. But it's crazy. And especially from my point of view, where I'm not always doing the programming. Sometimes it's my employees. And I have immense amount of trust in my employees, but because I wasn't there doing it, then I'm just going off of what they said. It's far better a position for me if I'm, disputing something with a customer that wasn't done or was done. I can show them, no, here's what my employee did. It's right here, time-stamped the time that they did it, right? This is successful. This is the solenoid strategy that was in there, whatever it is. Really important. But again, back to the application of this, there's stuff out there that will do this. You can get screen recording software. I'm sure there's probably even free stuff, but we built this custom for us to do exactly what we want. And it was built through AI, and it doesn't cost me anything to run. And I just hit the control key, hit finalize. I got a PDF attached to the invoice. They've got everything that we did like that. And I can change it up. Actually, we do it so when you close, it automatically will open up Gmail if you want with the subject line ready to go. And then you can send it if we need to send it to a central email. That's an option. And we built that in because that was handy to have that function. So that one has been fantastic for us for just a free software now. You don't pay anything for it. We just use it. And I can change it. If I want to edit it at some point, make it better or different or do another feature, sure, I can. But we can also use it for internal documentation of here's how you program a power steering control module on a 19 Silverado. Store that in our database. And then the next person who needs to do it doesn't know how to do it. Maybe they don't know how to read service information, but you get where I'm going. Some of these processes, it's better to see it happen than to read it off of service info where it just says, follow the on-screen prompts in TLC. Okay, that's helpful. Now, how do you actually do it? This would be something where you could capture that easily along the way. It costs you nothing to do except for clicking the control key and then saving a file. All right, finally, I'm going to wrap this up because I'm 40 minutes in here, but we built our own CRM, which is customer relations management system, which is the customer facing system when we are sending them an invoice. Okay. Now, before this, we were just using QuickBooks, and we're still using QuickBooks on the back end for the accounting and actually taking the payments. But we are building invoices. We are integrated with a calendar. We are sending the completed version of what we've done to the customer, along with building a customer portal that the customer can see with all of their jobs, payment statuses, all of their attachments. We built that for ST Mobile. And again, this was using AI in order to do this, but from scratch, essentially. I did have some inspiration from some friends that were making their own as well. And I'd been looking at this for years. I almost pulled the trigger on Techmetric. But the cost was so much, and I couldn't do specific things like attach a PDF to an email. Sorry, Techmetric, if you've changed that since then. But at the time, that wasn't an option. They also didn't have a good mobile version. I wanted a good mobile version because we're in the field. So I couldn't pay the money that they wanted, even though it seems like a great system. I looked at CollabTech, and CollabTech is very customizable. The reason I didn't actually follow up with that one is the guy I was dealing with just ghosted me. I don't know if I just seemed to be too difficult of a customer, but he just stopped responding to me. So I never pulled the trigger on that one. And I looked at a few other ones, but we were okay. We were just billing through QuickBooks, and it's not quite as professional, but it works. But now this is a very polished system, and it is better than QuickBooks for building an invoice in the field. The QuickBooks app absolutely is horrendous if you're trying to use it mobile, especially on Apple. Terrible, awful. The app that we built, which again, I use that share to homepage to just make it an app on your phone, is fantastic. It's fast. It's exactly what we want. And it's integrated with all of the systems that we want. Again, we have our Google Calendar. That's our source of truth for what we're doing on the day. This integrates, pulls right from that. You build a job from that, has our customer base, has all our products and services because it's synced with QuickBooks. It's fantastic. Now, it took a lot of work to make that, but now that it's made, I'm just paying a little bit of money for a storage database, maybe $9 a month, I think it is. And we have a fully functional CRM custom to what we want and very professional in my opinion. It turned out really well. But you can make this stuff. You don't have to make any of the exact stuff that I suggested here, but you can make your own stuff and you can make it the way that you want. And any of the applications that I've talked about, heck, maybe you can make your own. Again, some of them are going to be more work than others, but that's what I want to talk about this week. So hopefully you found that interesting. Hopefully it didn't drag on too long. If you got more questions on any of this stuff, I can do more in depth. Like if anyone is interested on like, how do I actually start building this stuff? How do I actually start making this? Like, I don't even know where to start. Let me know. I could do more episodes on that. I could, share some information on how to get going with this. Because once you get it rolling, it just flows. And for me, it's almost hard to stop. But anyways, that's where I'm gonna wrap it up. Won't take any more of your time, but thank you everybody for listening. Really appreciate it. Let's all get out there, start fixing the world one car at a time.